When Xiao Yan once again received news of Yuewen, it was unexpectedly during a crisis at the Flower Sect. Xiao Yan stepped forward bravely, resolving Yuewen's perilous situation and reigniting old feelings. Picking up from the last chapter, Elder Pill gazed at Xiao Yan and said, "You have cultivated the flame mantra, making the heavenly flames even more significant to you. Now that I have advanced to the status of half-do sheng, the bone spirit cold fire is of little use to me." As he finished speaking, he paid no mind to Xiao Yan and gently tapped the bone spirit cold fire. After a moment, Elder Pill's complexion turned pale, and he said, "I have purged the soul imprint from the bone spirit cold fire. However, having refined it for many years, even with the soul imprint now erased, it will still resist you to some extent, so you cannot use the flame mantra to refine and devour it in a short time." Elder Pill gently caressed the bone spirit cold fire, which floated lightly towards Xiao Yan and stopped in front of him. Xiao Yan looked at the pale flame before him, his eyes slightly reddening. This bone spirit cold fire had been the longest companion to Elder Pill, and now it had its soul imprint removed by his own hand. With your current strength, even if you devour the bone spirit cold fire, it may not bring about a significant leap. For you, such a ranked heavenly flame is somewhat insufficient, Elder Pill said with a hint of regret. "All right, hurry up and plant your soul imprint." Xiao Yan gave a wry smile. Things had come to this point, and he could no longer refuse. Elder Pill said, "By the way, an acquaintance of yours, Nalan Yanran, has come to the Falling Star Pavilion looking for you. Do you wish to meet her?" Hearing this name, Xiao Yan's eyebrows furrowed slightly. Nalan Yanran wouldn't come looking for me without reason, unless something has happened to Yuewen. In the living room, a figure sat somewhat awkwardly in a chair. The tightly closed door of the living room was slowly pushed open, and then a familiar young man walked in slowly. Nalan Yanran looked at the young man who entered, a hint of complex emotions flashing through her eyes. Over the years, she had heard of Xiao Yan's deeds in the Central Plains and was surprised that since their parting at the Tianshan blood pool, Xiao Yan had achieved such brilliant accomplishments in the Central Plains, where the strong were as numerous as clouds. Nalan Yanran asked, "Are you well? After coming out of the Tianshan blood pool, you left right away." Xiao Yan walked into the living room and said softly, "There were some matters at that time, so I didn't stay." Nalan Yanran nodded. Xiao Yan asked, "You must have come to the Falling Star Pavilion to find me for a reason, right?" Hearing this, Nalan Yanran's jade-like hand clenched, hesitating for a moment before saying, "I want to ask you to help my teacher." Xiao Yan's gaze became serious, and he said softly, "Explain clearly." "I came on my own initiative. My teacher did not allow me to come to you," Nalan Yanran said with a bitter smile. Xiao Yan nodded slightly, not surprised by this. Given Yuewen's character, even if she really encountered a problem she couldn't solve, she probably wouldn't come to him. This woman's stubbornness was heart-wrenching. Nalan Yanran slowly said, "I should have told you last time that not long after my teacher and I came to the Central Plains, we joined the Flower Sect. We joined the Flower Sect just because my teacher liked the atmosphere there. So we held the title of guest elders and lived there long-term. Originally, if there were no accidents, our strength in the Flower Sect would only be considered average. But who knew that during a casual stroll, my teacher discovered a cave with an old woman with paralyzed legs." Hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyes flickered slightly. The old woman had a very peculiar temper, and after discovering the teacher, she immediately drove her away, causing the teacher to suffer some injuries. But she was not angry. Instead, she brought food to the old woman, and this continued for 2 years. After 2 years, the old woman finally agreed to leave the cave and live with them for a year. Xiao Yan shook his head with a wry smile, marveling at how Yuewen could think of such a thing. How bored and kind one must be to deliver food for 2 years. After living with them for a year, the old woman's temper seemed to have improved a lot, and it was then that they learned she called herself the Flower Granny. However, Flower Granny seemed to have a short lifespan, and as her life was about to end, she sealed her lifelong do-chi in a peculiar way within the teacher and handed over a jade tablet to her, making her the head of the Flower Sect. Faced with this sudden situation, the teacher also felt quite helpless, and she was not interested in becoming the head of the Flower Sect. So after Flower Granny was buried, she continued to live in seclusion here. But unexpectedly, half a year ago, the current acting head of the Flower Sect suddenly appeared, demanding that the teacher hand over the head's jade tablet to her. The teacher did not want to make trouble, thought for a moment, and handed over the jade tablet to her. However, the woman came to the door again not long after getting the jade tablet, and this time her goal was the douqi sealed by Flower Granny and the teacher. Nalan Yanran said this. A trace of anger appeared on her cheek, obviously angry at the woman who was pushing her luck. How is the strength of the Flower Sect head? Xiao Yan asked. She is only the acting head but has the strength of a 4-star dozun. But the real trouble is not her, but her male companion, the demonic flower evil lord, who has the strength of a 6-star dozun. Because many elders stand on the teacher's side, she set a bet to compete with the teacher. The competition was originally considered fair, but the Flower Sect has a strange rule that a man and a woman can face the enemy at the same time, which means that woman can start with the demonic flower evil lord. Nalan Yanran said with a wry smile. The teacher also agreed to this competition. I think she was also annoyed by it. Is she brainless? Xiao Yan couldn't help but exclaim. This is simply courting death. Nalan Yanran sighed lightly. So I had to sneak to find you. If you don't help, the teacher may be in great danger this time. So please help the teacher, okay? Hearing Nalan Yanran's pleading and weak voice, Xiao Yan also slowly took a breath and said in a deep voice, How much time is there for the competition? Hearing this, Xiao Yan's eyebrows frowned slightly and said, It may take nearly 10 days to rush to the Flower Sect from here. It seems time is tight. If you want to go, go. While Xiao Yan was pondering, the figure of Elder Pill had already appeared on the side of the chair, smiling at Xiao Yan. Seeing this, Xiao Yan was stunned, then nodded. It's related to Yuewen. He can't shirk, no matter what he has to go to the Flower Sect. I didn't expect that even the old lady of Huayu had come to the end of her life. Elder Pill glanced at Nalan Yanran and sighed. Xiao Yan asked, Does the teacher know her? Elder Pill said, This old lady was famous in the Central Plains long before me. Speaking of it, she is a stunning character. But that Yuewen is really blessed, and she has got the inheritance of this peculiar old lady. Then Elder Pill flicked his finger, and a milky white jade tablet flew towards Xiao Yan. This is the space jade tablet I made. If you encounter a situation that you can't deal with, just crush it, and I will rush over in the first place. Xiao Yan took the jade tablet and nodded and said, This time I will go with Qing. The dozun of fire and little fairy doctor are in the closed cultivation, and it's not good to disturb them. Elder Pill said with a smile, It's better for the dozun of fire to stay here. Although you have refined the poison pill for little fairy doctor, it has not fully stimulated the power of the disaster poison body. During this period, I will help her, and when you come back next time, you may see 2 people whose strength has improved by leaps and bounds. This time you go to the Flower Sect, if possible. Help Yuewen to the position of the head of the Flower Sect. She can become the head, and the Falling Star Pavilion will also have a reliable ally. Xiao Yan nodded, turned, and walked out of the living room. After finding Qing, he didn't stay for a long time. Let Nalan Yanran lead the way, and the 3 hurried to the Flower Sect. The Flower Sect is located in the northwest of the Central Plains, and it takes a certain distance from the Falling Star Pavilion. Even with the speed of Xiao Yan and the 3, it takes about 10 days to arrive. Fortunately, after leaving the Falling Star Pavilion, Qing summoned a strong member of the 9 Nether Earth Underworld Python tribe and ordered it to return to its original form, and the 3 rode on its body, saving the hard work of running. At this moment, Xiao Yan was sitting cross-legged on the back of the snake, focusing his mind on his eyebrows, where the bone spirit cold fire slowly emitted a strange temperature. Suddenly, Xiao Yan's closed eyes trembled slightly, and the fire mark on his eyebrows burst out with dazzling fire, slowly permeating into Xiao Yan's flesh and disappearing. Xiao Yan's closed eyes slowly opened, and the resistance in the bone spirit cold fire was completely refined by Xiao Yan, and the pale white flame filled Xiao Yan's pupils. Xiao Yan exhaled a turbid breath with a joyful expression. Unexpectedly, in just a few days, he successfully eliminated the resistance in the bone spirit cold fire, and now the bone spirit cold fire has been completely harmonious with him, and he said in his heart, First solve Yuewen's matter and then devour and refine. 3 days later, Xiao Yan and his group arrived at a continuous mountain range in a hurry. Nalan Yanran looked around and then took out a petal-shaped object from the storage ring and fired it out. After a while, there was a strange fluctuation in the space, and a huge space barrier appeared in the sight of Xiao Yan and others. As soon as they entered the space barrier, there was a sea of flowers in front of them, and the gorgeous petals were dancing in the sky, just like a fairyland. Nalan Yanran said with a smile, "This is the Flower Sect's protective formation. If you don't have the correct way to enter, you will be lost in the sea of flowers." As soon as the voice fell, a faint bell came from the sea of flowers. "The competition is about to start. Come with me quickly," Nalan Yanran said in a hurry. Then they flew in. At the end of the sea of flowers is a magnificent mountain range, and there is a huge square on the top of the mountain range. At this moment, there are many people standing on the square. Yuewen, the time has come. It's time to show up." The bell fell, and the woman in the brocade robe narrowed her eyes slightly and said coldly. With the woman's voice, there was a sound of breaking wind in the air, and then a white figure gently landed on the square, which was Yuewen, who had been separated from Xiao Yan for many years. The woman in the brocade robe said, "I thought you wouldn't dare to come today. Sect Master, I have no thoughts about the position of Sect Master. Why force it?" Yuewen looked at the woman in the brocade robe and said, "If you have no thoughts, hand over the do chi of the old Sect Master." The woman in the brocade robe sneered and then glanced at the evil man on the side and said, "Let's do it together." Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking wind from the sky, and a figure rushed over from a distance like lightning. Then, in the stunned eyes of the people, it appeared on the square. "Yuewen, am I late?" "Xiao Yan, how did you come?" Yuewen's cheeks were blushing, staring in surprise at the young man with a teasing smile beside her. "How can I stand by when you are in trouble? Is it Yanran who told you?" Yuewen was slightly stunned, then understood a bit and said. Then she felt the temperature from her hand and quickly took it out of Xiao Yan's hand. Slightly reproachfully said, "This is the Flower Sect. How can you still be so reckless?" Xiao Yan smiled and said, "You've been hiding from me for so many years. It's time to hide enough. Who is the newcomer? Report your name. Dare to break into my Flower Sect." The woman in the brocade robe stared at Xiao Yan and said coldly, "You can regard me as Yuewen's partner." Hearing Xiao Yan's words, Yuewen's cheeks turned red again, and she looked at him shyly. The evil man fanned the folding fan in his hand and said, "A mere 2-star do zun strength. Also dare to be arrogant here. I think you are tired of living. Yuewen, you said you have no partner, but you still can't help but call it?" The woman in the brocade robe sneered, "Well, call it, so as not to say we bully you. Today, let you and this kid start together. If you lose, hand over the lifelong do chi of the old sect master." Yuewen frowned slightly. She didn't want to involve Xiao Yan in the internal strife of the Flower Sect, but when she was about to speak, she was stopped by Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan said, "There is no problem with the competition, but the conditions of the competition are too ridiculous. If you win, you can get Yuewen's inherited do chi, but if you lose, there is no loss. Do you think there is such a good thing in the world?" The woman in the brocade robe's eyes narrowed slightly, sneered, "If we lose, Yuewen can leave the Flower Sect safely and will not be entangled again." Xiao Yan said with a cold face, "If that's the case, then there is no need for the competition. Do you think the Flower Sect is a place you can come and go at will?" The woman in the brocade robe's face changed, and she said angrily, "Even if you can leave the Flower Sect today, the pursuit of the Flower Sect will accompany you for the rest of your life." Xiao Yan was not afraid of the woman in the brocade robe's anger and said with a sneer, "If you have the courage, you can come to the Falling Star Pavilion to pursue." The woman in the brocade robe heard this name. Her face changed slightly, with a bit of surprise, and asked, "Are you from the Falling Star Pavilion?" The Flower Sect has also heard about the appearance of a half-saint strong man in the Falling Star Pavilion. With this level of strong man sitting in the town, the strength of the Falling Star Pavilion is no longer afraid of the Flower Sect. "I am Xiao Yan, the disciple of Yao Chan. This time I came out. The teacher asked me to meet the old predecessors of the Flower Sect and greet them on his behalf. Xiao Yan suddenly raised his head and looked at the lush mountains around. His voice spread out with the Do Qi. Since he stepped into the Flower Sect, Xiao Yan has vaguely felt that there are some hidden breaths in the mountains. These breaths are extremely powerful. They should be the existence of the hidden old predecessors of the Flower Sect. Hearing Xiao Yan's self-report, the faces of the woman in the brocade robe and the demonic flower evil lord changed slightly. It turns out to be the disciple of Yao Chun. That old guy is really considerate. If I have time in the future, I will definitely visit the Falling Star Pavilion. After Xiao Yan's voice fell, a hoarse and old voice came out from the mountains and finally echoed in the air above the square. Then Xiao Yan respectfully arched his hand towards the direction of the sound. Then he turned to the woman in the brocade robe, who was in an uncertain color, and said with a faint smile, "Hua Jin, since Mr. Xiao Yan has a request, let's listen to him." An old man in the north of the square slowly said. The woman in the brocade robe, known as Hua Jin, gritted her teeth and said unwillingly, "What do you have to say? Hurry up." Xiao Yan said, "In this competition, if we lose, Yuewen's Doqi inheritance will be handed over to you. But if you lose, the position of the head of the Flower Sect will be returned to Yuewen." Hua Jin's face was gloomy and she laughed angrily. "So you are coveting the position of the head of the Flower Sect?" "Xiao Yan, I am not interested in being the head. Don't make trouble," Yuewen said hurriedly. Hua Jin took a deep breath, suddenly turned to look at the demonic flower evil lord beside her. With his strength of a 6-star Do Zun, even in the Flower Sect, there are very few people who can surpass him. Although Xiao Yan is powerful, he is just a 2-star Do Zun. Thinking of this, the demonic flower evil lord slowly nodded and said calmly, "Since you have this request, let's do it as you say. Don't worry, for Yao Qin's sake, I will leave you a breath." Hearing this, Xiao Yan also smiled slightly and whispered to Yuewen, "You step back a bit. I'll do it." "Alone?" Yuewen was stunned, her face full of confusion. The opponent is a 6-star and a 4-star Do Zun, and Xiao Yan is just a 2-star Do Zun. Yuewen said, "Isn't this one-on-two battle looking for death? You have just been promoted to Do Zun and have not completely refined the inherited Do Qi. If you fight, you will not be their opponent." "Don't worry, I can handle it," Xiao Yan said softly. Yuewen looked at Xiao Yan doubtfully, but due to her trust in him, she did not speak again and could only nod slightly. Seeing Yuewen step back, Xiao Yan took a step forward. A Flower Sect elder saw the tense atmosphere in the field, waved his sleeve, and said loudly, "Since you have already discussed it, let's start the competition." With the sound falling, a cold smile appeared on the face of the demonic flower evil lord, and he rushed towards Xiao Yan like a ghost. Xiao Yan's shoulder trembled, and the blue-red bone wings appeared, flapping quickly and flying into the sky, causing the demonic flower evil lord to miss. Then he waved his sleeve, and 11 puppets appeared, forming an array, making the celestial demon puppet brilliant. "Hua Jin, you deal with Yuewen. I'll deal with this kid," said the demonic flower evil lord. Seeing the puppet, a trace of disdain flashed in his eyes, and he turned his head to Hua Jin and said. Before Hua Jin could get in front of Yuewen, a strong figure fell from the sky and attacked her mercilessly. Hua Jin was shaken back 2 steps by the terrible force, and her eyes stared at the golden figure in front of her. The demonic flower evil lord said, "Hua Jin, you focus on dealing with that puppet, and after I catch this kid, the puppet will naturally stop." In the sky, the demonic flower evil lord looked coldly at Xiao Yan, who was suspended in midair, and the folding fan in his hand burst out with a dark blue light. The fan swung, and a huge wind blade came towards Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan smiled lightly and easily dodged the demonic flower evil lord's attack. This battle must be settled quickly. He took a deep breath, made strange handprints with both hands, and a fiery column rushed out from his body. Skyfire 3 mysterious changes. First change, second change, third change. 3 fierce shouts fell, and his breath surged rapidly, reaching the level of a 4-star Do Zun in the eyes of everyone's shock. After playing the Skyfire 3 mysterious changes to the extreme, Xiao Yan did not stop. He clenched his palm, and 3 flames appeared in his palm. After a moment of hesitation, he spat out a pale white flame again. The 4 different fires appeared in the sky at the same time, causing the temperature of this world to rise instantly. The demonic flower evil lord looked at the 4 flames suspended in the sky, and his face changed slightly. He couldn't let this kid continue to exert himself. The light of the folding fan in his hand bloomed, and he held the fan with both hands and then swung it fiercely towards Xiao Yan in the distance. Xiao Yan ignored the demonic flower evil lord's attack. His bone wings vibrated continuously, and traces appeared in the sky, while his body was hidden among them, making the demonic flower evil lord's attack unable to find the target. While dodging, the 4 different fires in front of Xiao Yan quickly merged together. The demonic flower evil lord sneered, "Can you only dodge?" Although he knew that Xiao Yan was preparing a powerful attack, his speed was far behind Xiao Yan. After nearly 10 minutes of chasing, his face became gloomy. Xiao Yan, who had been flying, suddenly stopped, smiled slightly, and said softly, "If you have chased enough, it's my turn." As the voice fell, a palm-sized exquisite fire lotus appeared. The demonic flower evil lord noticed the energy inside the fire lotus, and his face became extremely ugly. His hand's seal changed quickly, and the vast do qi surged out of his body, condensing into a giant nearly 100 feet tall. Heavenly Abyss Method. Qi changes the world. Go to die for me. The demonic flower evil lord's hand seal changed, and the giant took a step forward, and the powerful leg wind surrounded his fist. Is this the full force of a 6-star dozun? Xiao Yan gently breathed. Then he slowly raised his palm, and the fire lotus flew out, leaving a gorgeous fire tail, rushing towards the giant. The demonic flower evil lord did not dare to neglect the fire lotus that was flying towards him. The giant swung the hurricane and collided fiercely with the fire lotus. When the two collided, there was a brief silence, as if the whole world was solidified at this moment. But the silence only lasted for a moment. Then there was an earth-shattering explosion in the sky, and a flame storm that swept the world immediately appeared. "Blow up!" Xiao Yan shouted. With his shout, the destructive flame storm burst out completely at this moment, and under the continuous impact of the fire waves, the body of the giant became more and more illusory, and finally burst with a loud noise, turning into nothingness. The demonic flower evil lord spat out a mouthful of blood, his eyes full of disbelief. But there was no time to be surprised at the moment, and the fire waves spread towards him after shaking the giant. The demonic flower evil lord will be annihilated in an instant, and after suppressing the panic in his heart, he gritted his teeth and quickly retreated with all his do qi. The demonic flower evil lord's speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, he broke through the do qi defense cover around the square. The fire waves followed closely, and in the shocked eyes of many elders of the Flower Sect, they hid it. I saw the huge defense cover violently trembling, ripples quickly spreading, and finally the do qi defense cover reached its limit, and it broke with a crisp sound. The fire waves that lost the block spread wantonly. However, just as the fire waves were about to spread to the square, an old sigh sounded in the sky, and then a figure suddenly appeared, and the invisible ripples gently collided with the fire waves. The two energies eroded each other and finally dissipated slowly. Seeing the suddenly helpful figure, some elders of the Flower Sect showed a surprised look on their faces. "Xiao Yan, do you want to destroy my Flower Sect?" The white-haired old woman who suddenly appeared looked at Xiao Yan in the distance and said helplessly. Hearing this, Xiao Yan, who was pale, was a bit embarrassed and said, "It's really a helpless move. Please don't blame the old lady." Then he turned his gaze to Hua Jin on the square, and at this moment, her face was full of horror. She never thought that Xiao Yan could exert such a terrible attack that even the demonic flower evil lord could not withstand it. Xiao Yan glanced at the demonic flower evil lord in the distance, and then slowly fell from the sky, looking at Hua Jin not far away. With a wave of his hand, the 4 different fires reappeared. When Hua Jin saw the 4 flames again, she quickly shouted, "I admit defeat." Xiao Yan smiled faintly, opened his mouth and swallowed the 4 different fires. With his current strength, He has no ability to exert the destruction fire lotus twice continuously. Seeing Hua Jin admit defeat, many elders of the Flower Sect also shook their heads slightly. Today's competition is really a joke. A 4-star Dozun and a 6-star Dozun actually lost to a 2-star Dozun. If this news is spread out, it's really a good joke. Xiao Yan turned his head and looked at Yuewen's stunned face, coughed slightly and said with a smile, "I didn't let you down." Yuewen looked at the pale face of the former and said with a slight blame, "Still like to show off.